Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi ala ni'mat al-Islami wa kafa biha ni'ma. All praise and gratitude be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his blessing of Islam that suffices as a blessing. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. So I'd like to welcome you all on the 24th session. We are at Para 12. We'll be doing Surah Hud and completing Surah Hud inshallah today, beginning with Ayat 84. And then we'll also begin a new surah, which is Surah Yusuf. Now, what you're going to hear now, between now and towards the end of Surah Hud, will be again the stories of the Prophet. We'll start on with the Prophet Hazrat Shuaib alayhi salam, and then we'll briefly look at the story of Pharaoh and Hazrat Musa alayhi salam, and then we will move on to Surah Yusuf. So let's look at the first ayat, which is ayat number 84. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa ila Madyana akhahum Shuaiba. قال يا قوم اعبدوا الله ما لكم من إله غيره ولا تنقصوا المكيال والميزان إني أراكم بخير وإني أخاف عليكم عذاب يوم محيط. And to Madian we sent their brother Shuaib. He said, O my people, worship Allah. You do not have any God but Him. And do not give short measures and weight. Indeed, I see you in prosperity, and certainly I fear for you the punishment of a day that will encircle you. So here again, the message that you can see over here addressing to Hazrat Shuaib or to the people of Madian, his speech to the people of Madian. What he's saying, Hazrat Shuaib alayhi salam is, who was sent as a messenger to Madian, belief in one God. That's the primary message of all the messengers, of all the religions. And then justice in dealing. Justice and all dealing are placed together. These are the twin essentials for any righteousness. If you want to do neki, these are the two things. First, believe in Allah, and then having justice in every of the dealing. Because this principle of ethics and moral values are so important for this religion. These two relationships are really vital for any society, and particularly for an Islamic society. There should be business trust, and there should be a trust in personal relationship. Now, people of Madian were known to be, people who had brought in huge amount of problem in their financial transaction. And Madian as a city was known for its business, because the caravan would come and stay over here. But these people started to do fraudulent transactions with them, and they started to cheat people, their own people, and also those people who were visiting Madian for trade. Now, it is out of question, and I think this is what we need to all understand, for us to say that we are righteous people, unless we have these two things, unless we have a regard with Allah, that there is no deity other than Him, that's there. And then also the fact that in our social transaction, in our business transaction, in our human relationship, we also need to see that we have the right amount of justice. And oh, my people, give full measure and weights with justice, and do not deprive the people of their due, and do not act wickedly on the earth, spreading corruption. Now, when you find that in a society the business trust is eroded, it is going to create a sense of huge amount of insecurity. And when trust in personal relationship is gone, then the peace of the society would completely be destroyed. That which rests with Allah is best for you if you are believers, but I am not a guardian over you. Now, I think what we have to also understand is that how important it is for us to earn, in a manner which is based on justice, and we do not give a short weight and measure to people, because when things come easily to people, they go away also easily. Even sadaqah is not accepted from illegal earning. So there's no point in actually earning, even if it's not to do illegal earning. And what Hazrat Shuaib alayhi salam is also saying over here in the last part, I am not a guardian over you, is your accountability is with Allah, not with me. And I think personally that's also addressed to us in a way, to say that whenever we do financial transaction, be sure that you can give accountability of this transaction in front of Allah. They said, O Shuaib, does your prayer command you that we should leave what our fathers worship, or that we should not do with our wealth what we please? Indeed, you think that you are the only one who is wise and right-minded. Now, first part of this ayat, they say, Shuaib, does your prayer command you that? The first confrontation across the board, even today when people are criticizing Islam or they want to criticize some person, the first confrontation on religion is on namaz. Because the nature of namaz is that it is going to stop people from immorality and from munkar. These are the things where namaz is supposed to stop people. Now, if people continue to do these things, if they continue to involve in munkar and immorality, then there is some problem in the quality of their namaz. And they need to really look at this namaz, because the purpose of namaz is to stop people from these. He said, O my people, have you considered if I am upon clear evidence from my Lord and He has provided me with a good provision from Himself, and I do not desire to do out of opposition to you what I am asking you not to do. I only intend reforms as much as I am able, and my success only depends upon Allah, and upon Him I put my trust, and to Him I shall return. So what Hazrat Shuaib is saying over here is that all the rizq that is provided to him is from Allah. And I think this is something we can also look at around us. How many honest people would starve to death? Rarely. We don't see people starving to death just because they were honest people. They may starve to death for other reasons, but certainly not because of their honesty. And in this world, Allah gives to people according to a due measure, according to a taqdeer. But shaitan always instills this fear inside people that unless we indulge in haram, our provisions are going to reduce. So the point over here is that success is not except with Allah. That's the only way our success is. It's only with Allah. It is He who is going to direct my affairs, and He is going to also direct them on the right path. And that's what Hazrat Shuaib also says in the last. And my success depends only upon Allah. That's where everything is going to. All my success will be determined by that. And O my people, let not your opposition of me compel you to sin, lest befall on you that which befell on the people of Noah, or the people of Hud, or the people of Saleh, and the people of Lut are not far from you. So here, Hazrat Shuaib is reminding his people that, look, there are other nations that are around you, close to you, you see them, they are not far from you, and they oppose their messenger, and look what was their end. And what he's really telling them is that this is not a competition that you challenge me. You don't have to challenge me. You sometimes, because you don't like a person, sometimes because of our personal likes or dislikes, we just don't hear even a true message. So what this ayat is actually, the punchline of this ayat is, don't look at the messenger, look at the message. What is the message that's being delivered to you? Ask forgiveness of your Lord, and then turn to Him. Indeed, my Lord is merciful, and He loves His creation. I think this is the last part of this ayat which He's telling His people for us to understand. Allah is not, cruel. He's not hard-hearted. He has no feeling of hostility towards His servants. There's a very long hadith, and I like to just summarize this and about this long hadith. And it's about a person who's traveling in a desert, and all his provisions are loaded on his camel, and then he loses this camel. He's taking rest, and then this camel just sort of walks away somewhere, and this man gets up and he finds that the camel is missing, all his provisions are missing. So he goes around frantically searching and searching and searching, and he can't find the camel. And then he sits down completely dejected, feeling hopeless, because this camel is just his lifeline, right? And suddenly he's completely hopeless, and suddenly as he's feeling that he has this feeling, the camel suddenly appears. The camel just comes back. Huh? So imagine the happiness of this person. He lost, and then suddenly he got it back, right? He's extremely happy. So, our Prophet ﷺ said, Allah is more pleased when His sinful servant return to Him in repentance. Allah is much more, He feels much more happier than this person would see his camel returning back when his servant returns to him with repentance. They said, O Shuaib, we do not understand much of what you say, and indeed we consider you among us as weak, and if not for your family, we would have stoned you, and you are not strong against us. So in the first part, you say, we do not understand much of what you say. What does it mean? It's not that the message they are not understanding. What it means is we don't know what you're, we say in English, we don't know what you're talking about, which means that we know what you are talking about, but we are kind of uninterested in it, or we are not sympathetic to what you are saying. right? That's exactly what their attitude is. So they just don't understand the situation. They understand the message, but they don't understand the situation, and that's a sign of being extremely heedless. He said, "O my people, if my family is more powerful for you than Allah, you regard him as something that may be cast behind your back. Indeed, my Lord encompasses all that you do." So shirk here, Hazrat Shuaib is saying is, look, my family may or may not be powerful, but what about the other things that you are casting behind your back, right? So shirk on materialism, when people do shirk on materialism, then their entire trust and dependence is on on resources. "And O my people, do anything that is within your power. Indeed, I will do my part. Soon you will know on whom will the punishment will descend, putting him in disgrace, and who is a liar. So wait, indeed, I shall wait with you." So Hazrat Shuaib alayhi salam's commitment that you see from this ayat, he's totally committed. And this total commitment comes in from only one thing, and that is Iman, because Iman is supposed to give aman to people. He's not threatening, he has no anger, he has no resentment, but he has a very, very strong Iman. "And when our command came, we saved Shuaib and those who believed with him by our mercy, and a powerful cry seized those who had wronged, and the morning found them lifeless, prostrating in their dwellings, as if they have never prospered in it. Listen carefully. Cast away were the people of Madian as Samud were cast away." So giving an example, Allah says, as previous nations were destroyed, as Samud were destroyed, now Madian have also been destroyed. So the houses, the possession of these people remain behind, the ruins are there for people to see, but people have become lifeless, and this has come to a very bitter end. Now this ayat actually in the second part says, listen carefully. Cast away were the people of Madian. Listen carefully. This is not a tale. This is not a tale, a story of ancient, but it's something which is as real as broad light. And we certainly sent Moses with our signs and a clear authority. Now we're going to start on again with the story of Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. It's going to be very concise and precise this time. "To Pharaoh and his chiefs, but they followed the commandment of the Pharaoh, and the commandment of Pharaoh did not lead to what was right." So Pharaoh and his people were the main points here, and the main points that you will see over here is the kind of immoral leadership, the arrogance of people. And this arrogance comes inside people when truth comes to them and they refuse the truth for whatever reason, the arrogance will start to display. Also, you will see in this ayat is very important, but they followed the commandment of Pharaoh, and the commandment of Pharaoh did not lead them to what was right. So, this can arise from wrong commitment in obedience to such immoral leadership. When people actually commit to immoral leadership, then these problems arise. And Quran's answer over here is, leaders and those led are equally guilty, and none of them is absolved of the responsibility on the plea that he was blindly following orders. Because this is very much in line with man's free will, the freedom of choice between right and wrong. So we also need to see who our leaders are, who we are following. And if they are leading to a path of destruction, being led by them would have equally serious consequences for people who are following. "And he will lead his people on the day of resurrection and lead them into fire, and wretched is the place to which they are led. And they were overtaken by the curse in this world and on the day of resurrection, and what an evil reward for the one to receive." That is the account of the fate of the cities which we relate to you of them. Some of them are still standing, and some of them have been cut down. And we did not wrong them, but they wronged themselves. And their gods whom they called besides Allah did not avail them when there came to them a commandment of your Lord, and they only add to their destruction and ruin. And such is the grasp of your Lord when he seizes a city while they are committing wrong. Indeed, his seizure is painful and severe. So Quran reminds us is to do this critical study, travel, look at these nations, look at the Pharaoh, look at the pyramids that they made, look at Ad and Samud, look at the city of Gomorrah that is there. Do all this critical study, but not just as a collection of events, but drawing logical conclusions from it. And the logical conclusion that anyone would reach is that the rise and fall of nation and the communities is in a regular succession. When people start to become unjust, when they get all these problems inside their societies, then that begins the fall of any great nation. Indeed, in this is a sign for those who fear the punishment of the hereafter. That is the day on which mankind will gather, and that is the day which will be witness. Now, sometimes when we are living a routine life, like we all are living a routine life, it absorbs up so much that these momentous events, they lose their significance, and we cannot, it cannot happen to us. We feel we just cannot happen to us. These are the tales of the ancient. These happen to some other people. We are immune from it. And sometimes when people look at these nations, the fallen nations, they look it not from the point of ibrat, not from the point of taking any lesson, but they focus on their glory, they focus on their advancement. They say, what a great culture, what beautiful treasures they have, how rich they were. But no one really looks at them for the purpose of fear and say, oh, this is a great reminder for me to be a person of better faith, and look what happened to these transgressing nations. And we did not delay it except for a limited term. On the day when it comes, no soul will speak except by his permission, and among them will be the wretched and the prosperous. Now, two clear categories after this day arrives, the day of judgment arrives, two clear categories, the winners and the losers. This is the final polarization. And we need to ensure, now that we are living in this world, that we actually belong to the right group. As for those who are wretched, they will be in the fire. For them in it is nothing but heaving and groaning. Now, heaving and groaning, the word used over here is almost like as if somebody is breathing, inhaling and exhaling. So this describes the deep anguish and suffering and grief that they will not be able to contain because of the great sorrow and the punishment that they will be afflicted with. They will dwell in it as long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what your Lord should will. Indeed, your Lord is accomplisher of what he intends. So unless Allah wills to reprieve people, and when Allah will this phrase that is used over here, as long as the heavens and earth endure, commentators like Tabrani, he says this is used in ancient Arabic, this word is used in ancient Arabic to describe the sense of a time beyond count, which means almost like an infinite amount of time. That's how this word is used in Arabic. And as for those who are prosperous, they will be in paradise, abiding in it as long as the heavens and the earth endure, except what your Lord should will, a gift that will never cease. So do not be in doubt as to what these polytheists are worshipping. They worship only what their fathers worshipped before, and indeed we will pay them back their shares without reduction. And we certainly gave the book to Moses, but differences arose regarding it. And if it was not for the word that proceeded from their Lord, the matter would have been decided between them, and indeed they are in grave doubt concerning it. So differences are nothing, they've always happened, and even now they are happening. Similar response was there to Hazrat Musa alayhi salam. So a message to the Prophet and message to everyone after that is, don't be disheartened at these differences that you see around. And certainly your Lord will pay back for their deeds. Surely he is acquainted with what they do. So stand firm. Fastaqim kama umirta. This is such a beautiful ayat. Fastaqim. So stand firm as you have been commanded, as well as those who having repented have joined you, and do not transgress. Indeed, he is watchful of what you do. Now, Prophet ﷺ taught his followers, and he said, this is Qul amantu billahi summa istaqim. That say, I believe in Allah, and then be firm after that. That's the part. It's easier to believe in Allah. It's so difficult to remaining firm on that. So when one remains firm, especially in difficulties, and it is this ayat actually about which our Prophet ﷺ used to say that this ayat of Surah Hud has made me old. And the reason for that is that to have this istiqamat inside it, to be firm on something, to keep standing firm is such a difficult thing. It's much easier to accept the truth, but it is very difficult to live by that truth. And do not incline towards those who do wrong, lest you be touched by the fire, and you would not have other than Allah any protector, then you would not be helped. So there is no give and take. There is no give and take between kufr and Islam. Islam, Quran, very tolerant about other religions, but very, very rigid about its own boundaries. And establish prayer at the two ends of the day and at the approach of the night. Indeed, good deeds do away with the misdeeds. This is a reminder for those who remember. So this is an ayat which is talking about establishing prayers in the beginning, at the end of the day, which is Fajr and Isha prayer being reminded over here. But prayer in letter and spirit, and that's important for us, that when we establish prayers and we are committed to these prayers, then it is easier for us to stay on the Sirat-e-Mustaqim. The other thing that this ayat is also telling us is for us to remember is keep doing the good deeds, because they will remove the sins that we may commit intentionally and unintentionally. And be patient, for indeed Allah does not waste the reward of those who do good. So patience is really the mother of all good deeds. If only there were among the generations before you men possessing good sense to forbid corruption on the earth, except a few of them whom we saved. But the wrongdoers pursued the enjoyments of the good things of life which were given to them and persisted in sin. So this is a reminder, Quran reminding the history of fallen nations, and Allah sums up the cause of fallen nations mentioned in Quran. And the reason for that is these intelligent people who are the brain of the society, people who are clever, they did not forbid corruption. Instead, they actually got involved in corruption, and that's the reason why the fasad has spread in this earth so quickly. Because the best brains are being used for spreading corruption. Even today, if you look at the number of frauds that take place in this world, who are the people behind these frauds? Look at Bernie Madoff, the Madoff enterprise, how brilliant he was. He was a brilliant person, but the best brain was involved in fraud. And your Lord would not have destroyed the cities unjustly while their people were reformers. And if your Lord had willed, he could have made mankind one community, but they will not cease to dispute. Except whom your Lord has mercy, and for this he created them. Certainly the word of your Lord will be fulfilled. Surely I will fill hell with jinn and men altogether. So Allah has created men and jinn, and he has given them freedom of choice and freedom of action. The way of paradise and the way of hell, both are open. Both paths are clear. Follow either one. You have a full choice, you have the full freedom. And all that we narrate to you, some events of the messengers, and we strengthen your heart. And in this, the truth has come to you, and an exhortation and a reminder for the believers. So when our iman weakens, then going through these stories will strengthen our iman. That's the thing. When we read this, we see this, we hear about these people, is going to actually strengthen our iman. And say to those who do not believe, do what you can, and we shall do our part. And wait, surely we are waiting. So it's a warning. Waiting in the sense of this wait is going to end, and we know what the end result is. So the last ayah of the Surah Hud. And to Allah belongs the unseen of the heavens and the earth, and to him all the affairs will be returned. Therefore worship him and put your trust in him, and your Lord is not heedless of that which you do. So just sum up of everything, all deeds of mankind will be brought in front of Allah. Trust him, he will give you a reward. If you are going through a difficult period, be sure that there is a reward that is accruing out of that. Now we begin with the next surah, which is going to be Surah Yusuf, and we will do up to inshallah ayat 52 over here. Now Surah Yusuf was revealed onto our Prophet ﷺ in his last few months or last year while he was in Makkah. There are a lot of moral lessons over here. This entire surah is really devoted to a story of only one prophet, and that is Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. But what we will look at is, when we look at this story, we are going to look very closely at human nature. The jealous brothers, the greedy merchant, the sinning women, the country which is stripped, or whole society which is stripped of moral character, And then you can actually do a contrast with the kind of character that Islam wants to mold. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alif Lam Ra, Tilka Ayatul Kitab al Mubin, Alif Lam Ra. These are the verses of the enlightening book. Indeed, we have sent it down in Arabic Quran that you may understand. Why Arabic? Because Arabic is a very expressive language. It's very eloquent. It's comprehensive, and you can express things far more clearly because the way this whole language is constructed as compared to other languages. We narrate to you the powerful stories in what we have revealed to you in this Quran, although you were before it among the unaware. So this story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam also comes in Bible, so you can read it in the Bible also, but the moral lessons are not there. The way Quran describes it, this story is really quite unique. When Yusuf said to his father, "O my father, indeed I have seen 11 stars and the sun and the moon. I saw them prostrating me." So this is a dream that is there. So in this surah, there will be discussion of dreams and interpretation. True dreams are from Allah. There are true dreams and they are from Allah. Anyone can have true dream. We don't have to be a righteous person or a Muslim, and we will see a lot of people who get true dreams actually are not Muslims. But then there are some dreams which are also from shaitan, and we need to be able to distinguish between dreams from Allah and from shaitan. And then some dreams are just as our thought, because what we have been thinking also appears to us over here. So there is a science, or there is a knowledge of interpretation of these dreams. The real dream of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, this dream, this is God gifted. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam and his father had the ability to actually interpret these dreams, and this is a God gifted thing that was given to them. He said, "O my son, do not relate your dream to your brothers, or they will devise against you a plan. Indeed, shaitan is an open enemy of man." Now, you see, one of the things that arises over here is the kind of strong relationship between a father and a son. It is so important that our children actually discuss their thoughts, their aspirations, their fears with their parents. Particularly here, it's talking about the father. So this is a very beautiful dream and auspicious dream that Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam had. So his father is telling him, don't tell it to anyone. Don't flaunt your blessing. And that's another message. In one ayah, we get two messages. One is to have close relationship with our children. And the other thing is that if Allah gives us some blessing, then we shouldn't really flaunt those blessings. And thus your Lord chose you and taught you the correct interpretation of event, and completed his favor upon you and upon the family of Yaqub, as he had completed it upon your fathers before, Ibrahim and Ishaq. Indeed, your Lord is knowing and wise. Certainly in Yusuf and his brother, there are signs for those who ask. So this question was asked to our Prophet ﷺ by the Jews and the pagans of Makkah. And he didn't know about this. Our Prophet ﷺ didn't know about this till the time this whole surah was revealed to him. When they said Yusuf and his brothers are more beloved, which means this is the words of those brothers, right? When they said Yusuf and his brothers are more beloved to our father than us, while we are a clan, indeed our father is in clear error. So these other sons were expecting some kind of a preferential treatment from their father, Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, who also was a prophet. He was a father, but he was also a prophet. But Hazrat Yaqub had recognized the qualities of righteousness, being a prophet and being a very wise person, and he recognized that these righteous qualities are in one of his sons, and that is Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. So now these brothers become jealous, and what do they say? What do they have to say? They say, "Kill Yusuf or cast him out to an unknown land, so that your father's favors are exclusively for you, and after that you may become a righteous people." Now they are killing their brother out of jealousy. They're also saying we're going to lie after that. And they're completely disregarding the pain that they're going to cause to their father. You can see what selfishness can do to people. Utter selfishness that people are willing to even subject their parents to such kind of a tragedy. It's really sad to think that any son would be thinking for his own father. And then they have this very false sense of comfort. And the false sense of comfort that they're going to have is that once we have done this, once we have committed this sin, we are free to repent. We will repent, and we will again start to live like a righteous life. Everyone who does a sin, he has a conscience which pricks him. And then people tell their conscience, fine, let's just do this sin. After that, I will do a tawbah, and I'll do a sincere tawbah. And that's exactly what these brothers did. One of them said, do not kill Yusuf, but throw him in the bottom of the well. Some travelers will pick him up if you are bent upon doing it. They said, O our father, why do you not trust us with Yusuf when we are definitely his sincere well-wishers? Send him with us tomorrow that he may enjoy and play, and of course we will protect him. He said, indeed it saddens me that you should take him away, and I fear that a wolf will eat him while you are unaware of him. So Hazrat Yaqub already has the inkling. He's a prophet. He has an inkling of what the brothers are planning. They said, if a wolf should eat him while we are a strong clan, indeed then we will be the losers. So they're saying, we are so strong, how can a wolf come and attack one of our brothers? So when they had gone and agreed to throw him at the bottom of the well, we inspired him, which is Allah inspiring Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. You will surely inform them someday of this affair of theirs while they do not perceive. So I think this must have been a very calming thing for a young boy to be thrown in a well, and this inspiration coming to him saying that one day you're going to get back to them, and that must have calmed him considerably. And they came to their father at night weeping. They said, O our father, indeed we went racing each other and left Yusuf with our possession, and a wolf ate him. But you would not believe us, even if we are truthful. And they came with fake blood on his shirt. He said, rather your souls have enticed you to do something. So for me, patience is most beautiful. And it is Allah whose help is sought against what you describe. So apparently we see from the words of Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam over here is he didn't really believe in this story of this wolf coming and eating Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, because one, he has known about this dream that Hazrat Yusuf had indicated to him, and then he's also must be aware as a father, he must have known the envy the other sons have for Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. But he says, look, I'm going to be patient, and patience is something that enables people to endure all kinds of troubles and all kinds of affliction. So Quran describes here Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam as a picture of a dignified man. And what he's saying is, I will show you what beautiful patience is. And what helped him to be patient? What helped him to be patient was his firm belief in Allah, and also the dream of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, which gave him hope that Hazrat Yusuf is not dead. And there came a caravan. Then they sent their water drawer, and he let down his bucket. He said, good news, here's a boy. And they hid him, taking him as merchandise. And Allah knew of what they did. And they sold him for a small price, a few pieces of silver, and they attached no value to him. Easy come, easy go. They got it free, and they were willing to actually part with whatever little they get. People don't value things that they get free. I think that's the moral over here is, when people get something without any effort, without any work, they won't really value something. And the Egyptian who brought him said to his wife, keep him with honor, perhaps he will benefit us, or we will adopt him as a son. And thus we established Yusuf in the land that we might teach him the interpretation of events. And Allah is a master over his affairs, but most of people do not know. This is part of Allah's plan. Whatever happened was part of a plan of Allah. And this is sometimes we cannot understand wisdom of certain events. We think it's a great tragedy. A brother throwing another brother in a well. This brother is now brought into a town like Egypt, so far away. A person is taken out from a very rural, very pure, very clean company of prophets, to this modern, very perverted society. But Allah says, this is part of my training, so that we may teach him the interpretation of events. Allah wanted to raise his level up, and Allah knew that this Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, if he continues to live in this rural environment, he will never get that training that he will get in Egypt. And when Yusuf reached maturity, we gave him wisdom and knowledge, and thus we reward the doers of good. We all must pray for this. This is such a huge blessing for anyone. The greatest blessing is that Allah makes us people of wisdom and He gives us the beneficial knowledge. And she, in whose house he was, sought to seduce him. She closed the door and said, "Come here." He said, "I seek refuge with Allah. Indeed, my Lord has treated me honorably. Surely the wrongdoers will not prosper." Now we get a glimpse of the culture of Egypt. Very, very close to the kind of culture we see in Western societies. Same, almost like the same, parallel to that. So this is the culture of Egypt. This wife of Aziz, she's mentioned over here, she tempts Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. And this happens when people have too much money and too much free time, and then the shaitan comes into their mind and into their hearts. Now, Yusuf alayhi salam, what is his immediate response? His immediate response as he's being tempted is immediately turn to Allah. He recognizes, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam recognizes, now I'm in a great fitna. Now for a normal man who is not close to Allah or who is distant from Allah, for a normal man, this would have been an ideal opportunity. But look how a Muslim behaves. You know, I said make a comparison between what Islam teaches and what people are. For a Muslim, for someone who is in a high level, whose Iman has come into his heart, he will behave differently. This behavior can only be displayed by someone who is very closely attached with Allah. Here, Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam is teaching us what? He is teaching us the sabr on temptations. His father, Hazrat Yaqub alayhi salam, taught us what? He taught us the sabr on a calamity, while the son has taught us the sabr on temptation. She advanced towards him and he would have inclined to her had he not seen a clear sign from his Rabb. Important ayat. He would have inclined to her had he not seen a clear sign from his Rabb. And thus it was that we would avert from him sins and lewdness. Indeed, he was our chosen servant. Prophets are like human beings. Prophets are like us. They have passions. They have desires like any human being has. And Allah guides them to the straight path. Allah protects people. Allah protects his people who are close to Him. People who have bonds with Allah. Allah is the one who is going to protect them. In fact, there's a long hadith. I just try and sum it up about Prophet ﷺ saying that on the Day of Judgment, there will be no cover. Entire mankind will be in open, and there will be only 7 categories who will be under the shade of the throne of Allah. One of those categories, and there's 6 others, but one of the category will be of one who is tempted by a beautiful aristocrat woman, and he says to her, "I fear Allah, I fear Allah." And that's one, one of the categories that would be under the shade of the throne of Allah. So it's important for us that we all also belong to this category. And this kind of this thing, if we resist this is going to give us a confidence. It's going to give us tremendous amount of self-respect. And they both raced to the door, and she tore his shirt from the back, and they found her master at the door. She said, "What is the recompense of the one who intended evil for your wife, except that he be imprisoned or given a painful punishment?" A clever girl, right? Clever girl. What a presence of mind. Not a touch of nervousness. Very confident woman. Again, for men also, I think what men need to understand is every time this happens, every time somebody tempts, men shouldn't blame women for this. You have to make your own effort to save yourself. Don't blame anyone else for that. I think the weakness in our character should not be there. Our characters must also be strong. Now we see the difference between love and lust also. That here, it's only lust, and as a result of that, she immediately blames Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam. He said, which means Yusuf said, "It was she who sought to seduce me." And a witness from her family testified, "If his shirt is torn from the front, then she has told the truth, and he is a liar. But if the shirt is torn from the back, then she has lied, and he is of the truthful." Simple test, common sense. Somebody from the community says, this case was presented, and he said, "Just look at the shirt, and you will know exactly who's telling the truth." So when they saw his shirt torn from the back, he said, which means Aziz, the husband of this woman, said, "Indeed, it is a cunning trick of you women. Surely your deceit is great." Amazing, amazing comment by an husband. He's neither angry, he's not surprised, but he has this kind of a calm resignation. And he says, "Oh, you women, this is a kind of a trick that you women play. Your deceit is great." That's it. He leaves this over here. And what he tells Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, In the next ayat, he says, Yusuf, leave this matter, and you, O women, ask forgiveness for your sin. Indeed, you are at fault. That's it. That's it. That finished the whole story. And the women in the city said, the wife of Aziz seeks her slave to yield herself to her. Indeed, his love has pierced her heart, and we see her to be in clear error. Now, look at the immorality of the society as such. The question that's now going around on their WhatsApp or whatever Facebook that they have is being discussed is not the immorality, but how the wife of an Aziz, such a high position, could stoop so low so as to seduce the slave. That's the question. It's not a question of what she was doing. It's a question of why actually she's seducing a slave. If it was not a slave, that probably would be fine for them. Now this gossip also reaches the wife of Aziz, and she's absolutely furious about it, and she decides to subject these women who are trying to be on this high moral ground. And she thinks about it, and she's a clever woman, and she says, I'm going to put them to the same temptation. I'm going to see, I'm going to make their weakness also be exposed. So when she heard of their scheming, she sent for them and prepared for them a banquet and gave each one of them a knife and said to Yusuf, come out before them. And when they saw him, which means when all these women saw him, they were greatly amazed at his beauty. And they cut their hands and they explained, good God, this is not a mere mortal. This is no one other than a noble angel. So even when these city women, they saw Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, they were surprised at his beauty, and they instantly fell in love with him. And now the Amir's wife saw the condition of the guest, and she knew that she has proved her point, and she thought about it, and she must have thought, oh, this is the moment, No modesty, no shyness, open confession. This is the opposite of the Me Too movement that we see in this world today. We have this Me Too movement. This is the reverse of that movement going on in Egypt at that time. She said, that is the one about whom you blamed me. I certainly sought to seduce him, but he firmly refused. And if he will not do what I ordered him, he will surely be imprisoned and will be disgraced. So Aziz's wife, this wife of this Aziz, she threatens that if Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam does not comply, does not do what she wants him to do, she is going to get him thrown into the jail. See how confident it is. She accepts that I was the one doing this. But she said, I'm going to get him thrown into the jail if he doesn't do this. He said, which means Hazrat Yusuf said, my Rabb, prison is more to my liking than that which they invite me. And if you do not avert from me their plans, I might incline towards them and become of the ignorant. He doesn't say, well, I'm so strong in will. I'm not going to actually succumb to this. He says, I'm a human, but what he's saying, I'm also a human being. I can incline. He's praying to Allah. We need to pray to Allah. See his prayers. He knows his limits in face of temptation. That's why Quran says, don't go near this. Quran doesn't say, don't do this. Quran says, don't go near it. So his Rabb responded to his prayers and averted from him their craftiness. Indeed, he is the hearing, the knowing. Then it appeared to them, after they had seen the signs, that they should surely imprison him for a time. So now an innocent man being sent to jail. And there entered the prison with him 2 young men. One of them said, indeed, I have seen myself in a dream pressing wine. The other said, indeed, I have seen myself carrying on my head some bread from which the birds were eating. Inform us of its interpretation. Indeed, we see you to be of those who is righteous. So Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam's reputation of wisdom and dream interpretation obviously precedes him even in prison. So even these prisoners attest to his righteousness, and they come to him for interpretation of their dream. He said, before any food comes to you to feed you, I will inform you both of its interpretation. This is from what my Rabb has taught me. Indeed, I have left the way of a people who did not believe in Allah, and they deny the hereafter. So Hazrat Yusuf is using this opportunity to guide the fellow prisoners towards true faith. And I have followed the religion of my father Ibrahim, Isaac, and Yaqub, and we never attribute any partners with Allah. Such is from the favor of Allah upon us and upon mankind, but most of people are not grateful. O my two companions of prison, are many Rabbs better or Allah, the One, the Supreme, the Almighty? You do not worship besides Him except mere names. You have made them, you and your fathers. Allah has not sent down any authority for them. Judgment is only Allah's. He has commanded that you worship none except Him. That is the right religion, but most of people do not know. O my companions of prison, as to one of you, he will pour drink to his master, and as for the other, he will be crucified, and birds will eat from his head. The matter has been decreed about which you both inquire. And he said to the one whom he knew was going to go free, mention me before your master. But Shaitan caused him to forget mentioning it to his master, and Yusuf remained in prison for some years. So Shaitan makes people delay and forget the righteous deeds. And the king said, indeed, I have seen 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 that were lean, and 7 green ears of grain, and other that were dry. O eminent one, explain to me my dream if you can interpret. So now, this is the third dreams that are coming, and this is coming to the king of Egypt. They said, confused dreams, we do not know the interpretation of dreams. But the one who was freed and remembered after a time said, I will inform you of its interpretation, so send me forth. He said, which means now this person who was earlier a prisoner comes to Hazrat Yusuf. He said, Yusuf, O truthful, explain to us about 7 fat cows eaten by 7 that were lean, and 7 green ears of grain, and others that were dry, that I may return to the people, perhaps they will know. Now the akhlaq of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, he's given the title Siddiq. This man actually addresses Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam and say, O Siddiq, Yusuf, O Siddiq, explain to us. You can see the akhlaq, high akhlaq of Hazrat Yusuf, even while he's in jail. He said, you will plant for 7 years consecutively, and what you harvest, leave it in the years except a little from which you will eat. So Yusuf makes no complaint to this man. How could you forget me? I gave you the interpretation, and you keep coming back for me with all these dreams for free advice and all this, and you didn't really do my job. He doesn't do that. Then will come after that 7 difficult years, which will consume what you have saved for them, except a little which you will store. Then will come after that a year in which people will have rain, and in which they will extract juices. And the king said, bring him to me. But when the messenger came to him, he said, return to your master and ask him what was the case of the women who cut their hands. Indeed, my lord is knowing of their guile. Referring to the crime which he had not committed, and this unjust society had put him into jail. So the king called this woman. He said, O women, what was your case when you sought to seduce Yusuf? They said, God forbid, we know of no evil on his part. And the wife of Aziz said, now the truth has become evident, and I was who sought to seduce him, and indeed he is of the truthful. So we do the last ayat of this evening, which is ayat number 52. ذَلِكَ لِيَعْلَمَ أَنِّي لَمْ أَخُنْهُ بِالْغَيْبِ وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي كَيْدَ الْخَائِنِينَ. This is because he will know that I did not betray him in his absence, and that Allah does not guide the plans of the betrayers. So what Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam is saying over here, these are the words of Hazrat Yusuf. And he's saying, look, I didn't really betray anybody's trust. The Aziz of Misr gave me an honor, kept me in his home. He trusted me, and this honor was an amanat for me. So there are many types of amanat. This is also an amanat, that if we are in somebody's home, we actually do not betray the trust that has been laid onto us. So Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quran al-Azim wa nafana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim.